Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. We're going to be talking about dairy-free yogurts and how to make them. And it can be a little tricky to make a dairy-free yogurt because usually people use nut milks, and nut milks are usually made with water, so they turn out really thin. But I've got some different ways to make it. I've got 4 recipes, and since they use different types of milk, we are going to show you how to make your own homemade milk. And it's super easy, guys. It's not as hard as you think it is. It just takes a few minutes, and it makes the best milk. You'll love it. It's fun to make. And since Reuteri, which is one of the yogurts we're going to teach you to make with some non-dairy milks, it ferments for 36 hours. You can have some challenges to keep it creamy. And I found that making non-dairy milk is one of the tickets that it makes to make it so much better for you than store-bought milks. They have so many additives, so many things that are not good for you. And I've had a lot of people say they've had reactions to some of those nut milks in the store. So it's so much easier and better to make your own nut milks. Or this isn't actually a nut milk. Some of these one is coconut and the other is oat milk. You only need a couple of things. You need a high-speed blender and a nut bag to strain the milk, which you can get. I put a link in the recipe, and you can get them on Amazon. You can get them all over the place. They're super easy. You can keep them for a long time. You can wash them and keep them actually really clean. And I've only used one for a long time, and it works really well for me. And it's going to be much faster for you to make your own nut milk than it is to go to the store and buy it. So let me teach you how to make it. My favorite one is the oat milk. And I've made an Reuteri oat milk and a yogurt plus, which has the bifidobacteria that you want with oat milk. One thing great about oat milk is that it has fiber in it. And that's a nutrient you won't find in cow's milk, but that helps to feed your microbiome. Oat milk works really well in Yogurt Plus and in Reuteri, and it has that fiber that's resistant starch, and that just feeds your bifidobacteria like crazy in your gut. And so it's a very important micro that keeps your immune system strong and helps you to fight off pathogens. It makes the Reuteri a really good yogurt. I think it's one of the best of all the non-dairies I've made, and I think you'll really like it, and it's kind of fun to make. Okay, so let's start with oat milk. So oat milk yogurt has, like I said, resistant starch, and resistant starch resists digestion. That means they don't feed us, they feed our bacteria. And some of the most important ones is bifido that it feeds, and bifido loves resistant starch. And resistant starch comes in many forms like oats, green bananas, legumes, potatoes, and rice, just to name a few. But the important thing here is that you need to eat these starches cold, which is what turns it from a sugar, because when you cook it, like for instance, when you cook a potato, it becomes sugars inside the potato. Once you cool it, it becomes resistant starch, and that is when you get all the benefits. So if you eat a baked potato, wait 10 minutes before you eat it, and you'll get more benefits. And that's the same with yogurt. We're going to use oat milk to make the yogurt. You cook it and then you cool it, which is going to be a resistant starch, and it's going to be fabulous for your gut and for your microbiome, and it's going to love it. So these special resistant starch fibers aren't completely broken down and absorbed in the stomach or small intestine. What they do is they pass through to the colon, and then they are converted to short-chain fatty acids, and that acts like a prebiotic to feed all the beneficial bacteria in your gut. And for every 100 grams of fiber your gut ferments, you make 30 grams of fiber for you. And the fermentation process is done by the microbes in your gut. You don't have to do anything. You just have to eat it. And this creates a powerful, robust immune system. So fiber adds the bulk and then reduces the ability of carcinogens to make contact with your cells, because there's so much good bacteria in your gut. And it also creates a huge barrier in your gut with Akkermansia. And then fiber binds cancer-causing compounds and bile acids and keeps the gut in balance. That's how it works. That's why fiber is so good for you. And fiber is also needed to make butyrate, which is a short chain fatty acid. Butyrate is really essential to a healthy gut and immune system. One of the health benefits of butyrate is its ability to provide your colon cells with energy. So butyric acid provides your colon cells with about 70% of their total energy needs, and that's pretty significant. So researchers are finding that increasing the butyric acid is important for those with people who have things like irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease. You really need that short chain fatty acid to protect your colon. Now, the homemade oat milk that I'm going to teach you how to make that we're going to turn into a yogurt. It's creamy. It has a little bit more lumpy than regular yogurt, but boy, is it good! It's so good, guys. Oh gosh, I love it. I have a hard time wanting to eat anything else because I love the flavor of it too, and it feeds that species in the yogurt so much that you actually need less prebio or a prebiotic in your yogurt when you make L-reuteri, because usually it ferments for 36 hours, so you need extra food. But because oat milk has that resistant starch in it, you need less prebio to make it. And it just becomes this powerful yogurt when it's cooked and cooled that feeds your microbiome in a very powerful way. And it has a fabulous flavor that I absolutely love. Now, I have two of those. I have one for Yogurt Plus and I have one for L-reuteri. And they're both made the same way. But then L-reuteri is fermented much longer than Yogurt Plus. Yogurt Plus is like 8 to 10 hours. L-reuteri is 36 hours because you can't get the L-reuteri till about the 30th hour is when it really starts to generate L-reuteri. So that's why we ferment it for so long. We also ferment it at a lower temperature because L-reuteri likes body temperature. That's just how it works. And so you have to ferment L-reuteri for longer and at a lower temperature. Now, the other two recipes I have are for coconut milk, homemade coconut milk, yogurt. And coconut, let me talk to you about coconut milk because it's really interesting, all the properties it has. And it's probably the most common alternative to the dairy option for yogurt. People use coconut a lot. And especially people with food intolerances and food allergies. But coconut milk has similar benefits and probiotics as the dairy version. So they have, when you make L-reuteri yogurt, for instance, or Yogurt Plus, you're getting about a little bit less than dairy probiotics, but still significantly a lot. So you're getting a lot. So it works very well. But let me tell you something. Coconut milk is very low in carbohydrates. And so the microbes need the extra food to make probiotics. So you have to give it a prebiotic because it only has 1 to 3 carbohydrates. And because of that, you won't make very many probiotics because the microbes won't have anything to eat. So that's why we give it a probiotic. Now, I want to tell you something really cool about coconut milk and coconut in general. Researchers have established that coconut milk is a very effective antifungal. Coconut works to kill candida, which is a type of fungus that is mostly responsible for most fungal infections. And I have seen this firsthand. It has worked quite effectively for me and my daughter many years ago, this was, to really bring candida back into balance where it belongs. And if you combine this with L-reuteri, which is also effective against candida, you have a strong remedy to encourage the probiotics in the yogurt to dominate in your gut and bringing that pesky yeast back into its rightful place because it belongs in the corner. And candida will dominate if you don't have enough good bacteria in your gut. And you don't want that. So let's say you've taken an antibiotic, you've wiped out all the good and bad bacteria. Well, candida wants to take over then because it's got room to spread out. So you want to have a lot of good bacteria in your gut. And then candida can't grow outside of its boundaries because that keeps it in check. Now, coconut can create a die-off or a Herkimer reaction, which means that it gives off toxins as it dies. And I think there's like 80 of them. So be aware of that. You can get a little bit of a die-off reaction where you don't feel as well. You kind of feel like you're getting sick, but you're not really getting sick. You're just having a die-off reaction. And Herkimer reaction is a medical term for when bacteria or fungal things die off. And it can cause those kind of uncomfortable symptoms, but they usually don't last very long. Now, L-reuteri yogurt exhibited antifungal properties against 5 of the 6 most common oral Candida species. It completely eliminated these species, and it's now being studied for the treatment of SIFO, which is small intestinal fungal overgrowth. And SIFO is characterized by the presence of an excessive numbers of fungal organisms in the small intestines associated with, gastrointestinal GI symptoms. And Candida can be quite challenging, but having a large amount of good bacteria, again, is going to keep your Candida in check. So we need balance, not complete extinction with Candida, because you do need it to digest heavy metals and things that your regular digestion can't handle. And having the proper gut flora makes this a really natural process. So I have 4 new milks, and they are actually turning out to be some of my favorites. They're super fun to make. And basically with, I've got homemade coconut milk L-Reuteri, homemade coconut milk yogurt plus, homemade oat milk L-Reuteri, and homemade oat milk yogurt plus. So when you're making the homemade coconut milk, I've been using dried coconut. You can use fresh coconut too. But most commonly available is the dried coconut, like the desiccated coconut. And so what you do is you soak it in hot water for with 2 cups of water for 30 minutes. And then you'll add 2 cups of cold water. And then you'll blend it for a couple minutes until it gets smooth and creamy. And then you just pour it through a nut bag and squeeze out the milk. That's all you do. And it makes a really, really good coconut milk. And for oat milk, that is a little bit more of a process, but it is so worth it, guys. The oat milk, basically what you do is you take 1.5 cups of rolled oats. They work the best. Some people do use the steel oats, but I think that the rolled oats works really well. The quick cooking oats do not work very well because they just get too mushy. And you just put you put 4 cups of water with 1.5 cups of oatmeal in a blender, a high-speed blend. And then you pour it through a nut bag. You don't have to soak this one at all. And then what you do, the difference is that you go and you put it in a saucepan after you squeeze out all the milk. And then you're going to cook it for a little bit till it gets thick like oatmeal. And it will kind of get, a little bit that texture, a little bit lumpy, a little bit it looks just like oatmeal. And then you'll let it cool down. And you will add it to your yogurt maker. And I like to add a splash of vanilla to it because it tastes so good. And I add about 1/2 tablespoon of a prebiotic like Prebio Plus. You can use inulin or potato starch. And then you, once it's cooled down, you just add in the culture. And whether it's yogurt plus or L-Reuteri, and then you ferment it for whatever the instructions are. And guys, it makes really good yogurt. I've got all the recipes in the description and in the article. You're going to really like this yogurt. It's probably one of the favorite ones I've made. And if you want it super creamy, you can just whisk it a little bit because it's a little bit lumpy, but you can whisk it and make it creamy if you'd like to do that. But I just love it. It's got such a good flavor, and it's so easy to make. And it takes 2 minutes to make the oat milk out of oatmeal. You're going to really enjoy these yogurts. They're, okay, so some of the, especially L-Reuteri, they can be problematic when you're making non-dairy milks. I've made a couple batches with almonds and made my own almond milk, and one almost turned out the way I wanted, but then it came out of the jar. It got too puffy because I think I added too much of a thickener too, because I added a little bit of gargum, which is a prebiotic, which helps to make it thick, because almond milk is so thin and runny when you make it into yogurt. And that worked, but then it kind of came out of the jar. So I'm doing another one. And then I tried doing it with agar and then gelatin, and that didn't work at all. It looked horrible. I didn't even want to eat it. So I'm working on the almond milk one. But it takes a lot of experimenting. And so I'm trying to make good ones. These worked out really, really well. They're more creamy than they are yogurt-like. The coconut milk can be a little bit thick, have a little bit of a curd, but it does most of them are both creamy, which I'll take in a non-dairy yogurt because it's really hard to get you got to have the right components to make that thick curd you get in yogurt, which you usually need dairy. But anyway, I'm trying to make more and more for you so that you can have a really good success and have really good ingredients and not have to buy the store-bought milks, which I really don't like them. And now, once you learn how to make your own nut milk, you will absolutely love it. So it's just so fast and easy, and it's quicker than going to the store and buying it, and cheaper. So anyway, this is 4 recipes. I am going to put the link description below so you can go to the article, see all the recipes, see exactly step by step with pictures how to do it. It's really fun. I think you'll really like it. And guys, these yogurts are so worth their weight in gold. I just recently went a couple weeks, maybe a week and a half, without El Reuteri, and I noticed a difference. I really did. I noticed a difference in how I felt, in my mood, and I really enjoy them. I enjoy the taste, but I really see huge benefits from Yogurt Plus and from El Reuteri. They both do different things. El Reuteri is a bacteria that most people are missing. Bifido is one of your biggest bacteria that you need more of all the time. I just wrote a big article about that, on how to build that up. It's what activates your immune system. It's the bacteria that you get when you're born, and that is in Yogurt Plus. So each one of these yogurts has different things that they do, and I highly recommend you have them several times a week. They're fun and easy to make, and man, do they help you. They make such a difference. They keep you young and healthy. They make you feel good. They keep your emotions in check, and they make a big difference on how you function on your day-to-day level. And believe me, I know I can really see a difference. So anyway, these are a couple of, or actually 4 recipes for those who want a non-dairy option. And I am still working on more. It just takes a long time to get it to where I really feel like I can put it out there and have you be successful. And I've made these a lot, and they just work really well. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you'll try them. And I hope that they will bring your gut health into a really good shape so that you can feel good, have lots of energy, fight off pathogens, and stay healthy and strong. Because it's really important. Without your health, you don't have anything. So I hope this helps you, and I hope you'll try them. Send me an email if you have success with it, and let me know how you liked it. So have a great week, guys, and we'll see you next time.